Welcome back to Screenfish Radio. I am so excited today to be talking about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. And when you're talking about a rock star like Bruce Springsteen, you need a rock star guest. And the man here is not only is he actually born in the USA, he also was born to run. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to have Wade Bearden back. Welcome back, Wade.
Hey Steve, you're on fire. I'm so excited to chat too. I'm not the boss, but I enjoy talking about the boss, and I enjoy talking about movies. So we're like, it's good. This is a great episode. It's gonna be. It's gonna be.
It sounds good. Actually, you know what, Wade? I was just thinking about this, and I didn't tell you I was
Uh,
going to do this. I'm extra appreciative to have you on. I was thinking about this today. You and Kevin, do you know? Here's a trivia question for you. Do you know the first date of your at first episode of Seeing and Believing when you were hosting? Because you're, of course, former co-host Seeing and Believing.
yes. So it is going to be February 2015. I'm just going to say February 9th. Is that correct?
I am
Or
in.
am I close?
No, it's February 12th. I am actually
Ah,
very impressed. The reason
ah,
I bring this up, since it is 2025, you and Kevin, believe it or not, were actually one of the first influences on Screenfish Radio because our first episode was May of 2015.
oh,
And I
wow.
think my first episode was Age of Ultron. We did Avengers Age of Ultron. And
Okay,
at the
yeah.
time, I was listening to other podcasts and trying to sort of get a vibe going. And one of them was Seeing and Believing, was you and Kevin. And of course, we've
Okay.
known each other since then. We've been friends for a while.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. I didn't know that. I guess I thought yours had started before us or right around that time. Um, but it was a fun run. And I actually would love to do something where I collect all those episodes and just I don't know, transcribe them or I don't know, do something. But it was a cool run doing like I think I did 300 and something episodes with Kevin and enjoyed him and I appreciate you asking me on because I don't write and do film reviews anymore. I still write, but not film reviews. I don't do any uh, podcast episodes anymore. So whenever you invite me on, I'm like, okay, I'm back in the saddle. Like I'm here. I still got it.
Yep. No, I honestly, and that's I know you're doing so many other great stuff. But I do love when we get a chance to talk about it. And yeah, because I think you must have done that for like 7 or 8 years or something like that with the two of them. I think
Yeah.
it was him and Sarah did it, and now they're focusing on Substack instead, but still.
Yeah, yeah. So it's cool to seeing and believing kind of transform and change, and I love the Substack and reading those reviews and um, but yeah, no. So it was a while. We reviewed a lot of movies, and I don't know if it's like this for you, and hope this is not getting off topic too much, but when you first start as a film critic, those movies that you review in that beginning time period, I feel like they just have a lot of meaning for me. Those movies that we talked about the most. And so I don't watch as many movies as I used to. I used to watch a ton. So I still watch movies and I try to put together a top 10 every year just personally. But those movies that came out from 2015 to like 2000 and was it 2022, I think it was. Um, there's a lot of ones that I enjoyed. They just have they have a high place in my heart, I guess you could say.
Well, absolutely. And like sometimes I'll see a film that I'll have enjoyed or be lukewarm on and have a great podcast episode on it where we great discussion on it and I
Yeah.
appreciate it more. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
I find that like when I'm doing interviews too, I find that I'm like, you know what, there'll be a movie that I didn't like or I was sort of mid on and I'll have a great interview and I'll be like, oh, I have a new appreciation for it. So
Yeah, and I think no, I think you're right in terms of appreciation. Even if it's a movie that maybe you're not super high on, when you have a chance to talk to the people who made it and you realize they're not trying to make a mediocre movie. Like they believe in this and they have this vision and it can make you, even though you might not say I love it, but you can kind of appreciate it more. And it's funny, you talk about all your interviews. I love seeing some of your interviews and I'll sometimes show my wife, I'll be like, hey, you know Steve that I do a podcast with? He just interviewed this person. And you've been on the red carpet before, and I've showed her. I'm like, look, he's right there. So it's cool to see you're doing. I don't know, you're just doing so much good stuff. So it's fun to see that.
I appreciate that. It's been fun. It continues to be fun. Not it sounds like it's in the
Yeah,
past. It's very much in the present.
yeah,
But
yeah.
thanks, man. I appreciate that. But since we're here in the present, let's talk about the past. Let's talk about Springsteen, Deliver Me to Nowhere. And for those of you at home, directed by Scott Cooper, Springsteen Deliver Me from Nowhere follows Bruce Springsteen as he sits on the cusp of mega-stardom. Though after the success of Born to Run, the boss believes that it's time for something different. Holding him up in his New Jersey bedroom with a four-track recorder, Springsteen begins to work on what would become his 1982 album Nebraska. However, as he wrestles through each tune, so too must he wrestle with his own demons, scratching and clawing for hope in the process. As always, this podcast is rated S for spoilers. But Wade, now I know you're well, I don't know if you're a Bruce Springsteen guy, as I see the shirt that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, I wore it for you. One of the many that I have.
Yeah, like you've seen him in concert, right? Like you've seen him a few
Yeah.
times, am I understand? You're a big fan. What did you
Yeah.
think of the
Seen
film?
him kind of all over the place. My family, we had it actually the last time that I saw him, we had a chance to travel in Europe. And it's weird when you get there, we use points to get there, and then you're just kind of near every country, right? You can just take a train anywhere. And so my wife's like, "Well, where do you want to go?" And I was like, "Well, Bruce Springsteen's in Prague, and I've always wanted to go to Prague." So, long story short, I saw Bruce Springsteen in Prague. That's the last time I saw him in June, and which was great. But yeah, no. Anyway, yeah, I'm a huge, yeah, just a huge Springsteen fan.
Okay, but since you just said that, I want to get back to the film in a minute. But what is the reaction to Bruce Springsteen in Prague? Because he is such an icon of American music. Like, is the reaction the
Mhm.
same there as it is on stateside?
Dude, here's what's crazy. It's even bigger. Like, I've been to shows in Houston, Philly, Boston. I've seen him in New York. I've seen him kind of all of different places. And the craziest crowd by far was in Prague. And if you watch some of his live shows, you know in Europe, he's just, I mean, he's a hit. And I was actually joking with my wife about this the other day after we watched the movie. I've seen him on tour in the last couple of years a number of times in the States, and he did not sing Born in the USA at all. But in Prague, he sang Born in the USA, and the crowd was loving it. Like they just thought it, I mean, it was, these people are crazy. And it was so fun. On this last in Prague, I got there at, you know, three and a half hours, 4 hours early and waited in the sun. And I was really close. And the people were just, they were having a good time. I mean, it was great. So, anybody listening to this, if you can see Bruce in Europe, it's amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to consider you here of the two of us, you're definitely the expert because as I was talking to you before
Okay.
we started recording, I was like,
Yeah.
I know four of his songs, maybe, and then my
And you used
favorite.
them all in the intro too.
I did, I did. No, no, I didn't say that Santa Claus is coming to town,
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
which is still
You
my
didn't
favorite one
say
of his
dancing in the
songs.
dark.
Dancing in the Dark. Um, but honestly and truly, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on the film because I feel like you know him so well. I went in very cold and was
Mhm.
able to sort of distance myself from the film. But I mean, for you, what did you think?
Yeah, well, and I have it here too. One of my favorite books that's been written in the last couple of years is Warren Zane's "Deliver Me from Nowhere," and this is yeah, the movie's based on this book. Fantastic book, and not only that, but I've read uh, Bruce's autobiography. I've read other books by about Bruce. I've got some of I put him up there so all the people could see. And so I obviously know a lot about his life. He's my favorite musician. My kids are always like, Dad, stop listening to Bruce so much. I pay for Sirius XM radio just to have the E Street channel because some of Bruce's best work is live. He's just such a great live performer. And so what's interesting is I go into this movie and I'm very biased. And as I'm watching this movie, I can see that biasm kind of pulling me in multiple directions. And so, in one sense, I know this story, and this is such a pivotal time in Bruce's life. And so, Nebraska is a special album to me. I love Nebraska. I mean, it's so good. And so, in one sense, I'm biased to like it. In another sense, I know a lot about Bruce. And people are like, you can't even tell the difference between Jeremy Allen White's voice and Bruce's voice. And I'm like, get out of here. Like, what are you talking about? Uh, and so there are other things as I'm watching this movie that kind of rub me the wrong way, or maybe just kind of keep me at a distance from this film because maybe it doesn't depict Bruce like I know him. Or I've experienced him in all those. So there is a bias that's kind of working. I actually wanted to ask you because I actually think it's great that someone who doesn't know Bruce very well is on this podcast. Because as I'm watching this story, I know this story and I know how important this story is, and it's a meaningful story to me. But I wondered, is it that meaningful or does it carry that much weight for people who don't know the story? Like, do they watch it and they're like, okay, cool, yeah, like, okay. And part of the reason is because if you look at Bruce's life, he didn't ever struggle with drugs. He didn't struggle with alcohol. A little bit of relationship stuff in the 80s, but nothing compared to what we see from a lot of rock stars. Um, Really kind of kept control of his band. These guys didn't break up and they fight for years or whatever. So his story is a little bit different than something like Freddie Mercury's or whatever. So for you, was this story significant to you, even though you don't know a lot about Bruce's life or his music?
It actually it was, and and I say this because I was surprised at how much it was. I appreciated the fact. I mean, I can only assume this is like the fifth season of The Bear. No,
Okay,
I'm kidding.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But no, in all seriousness, I appreciated the fact that this wasn't didn't fall into the tropes of the typical musical biopics. We're getting them all the time now. All the time, musical biopics. Boom, 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 boom. I feel like there's so many, and a lot of them fall into the same tropes. And one of the ones that bothers me, and listen, there are things about Bohemian Rhapsody. I am going to pick on Bohemian Rhapsody as well.
It's not a good
It's not a
movie.
good movie,
Sorry.
but there are things I like. There are things I like.
Yeah, yeah.
The Live Aid depiction at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody is the reason why I was okay with him getting the Oscar because that is
Mm,
a
yeah.
perfect recreation of Live Aid. Like it was incredible, but the rest of the movie is not good. Um, and one of the things that bugs me about it is that it turns their songs into recipes, and this is what I'm
Mm,
calling it. So there's like feels like there's five or six different things where they're like talking with each other and oh now I've got an idea for a song and it's like we're going to tell you how this song came and this song came and this song came
hmm
and or there's a scene where they're what we need something interactive stomp stomp clap and it's like oh see look we've got this
Montage. You need a
montage.
montage.
It drives me nuts and there's a little bit about that in this one the one where he's writing oh what song is it he's about the guy that goes to jail.
Nebraska.
Is it Nebraska? Oh yeah, but it had a
Yeah.
different title before that. They
Yes.
changed it to
Hmm.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, but it's not the point. The point of the movie is not to run through a hit list.
Yeah.
And I loved that about this. I thought, like, as somebody who doesn't know Bruce Springsteen, I didn't want I didn't just ironically want the soundtrack. I wanted to care about Bruce Springsteen. And I thought that the mental health conversations going on here, the
Hmm.
like it yes, he's creating an album, but it's you see him working. Everything is hard. Like the whole thing is a challenge, but it's really about him as
Hmm.
opposed to the album. And that's where I connected with it. Like this could have been about, Joe Random, uh, musician, and I would have been interested. It didn't have to be Springsteen, and that's what I liked most about it, to be perfectly honest.
It is fascinating, um, Bruce in his story in filmography.
Yeah.
You kind of get it from a couple different angles. So a film came out years ago, Blinded by the Light, is about his music, but it's not about him. It's about how his music has impacted people. So it was kind of a different angle on Bruce. He's, of course, done Springsteen on Broadway, where he tells his story, and some of that's included. Some of those references are included, of course, in this picture. So he's done some different things. He had a documentary made on his most recent tour. It's on Disney Plus right now. And so I was interested in what story would be the first
Mm.
in movie format because it's coming at some point. And I think Nebraska, I read Nebraska a couple years ago and I was like this is it. Like this is the story that will become the first Bruce Springsteen movie. And just because it has that feel, his I guess the demon that he battled is with depression, and it comes from his upbringing and circumstances in his life, and it's something his dad didn't quite he wasn't able to defeat. And I'm not saying Bruce has completely defeated it, but we see kind of two roads begin to diverge, and it happens at the end of the movie when he really kind of opens up and he begins to go to therapy. Isn't it fascinating, Steve, how with so many biopics, music or not, it always ends with a round of applause at the end in the crowd. And this one is essentially him him going to therapy. Like that's kind of the climax, not the final scene, but the climax of the movie. And I thought that that was a really fantastic way to tell this story. It's very small, it's very compact, and and I like that. I like that angle, and I think it helps too that I know these songs and I know where they come from. Mansion on a Hill, My Father's House, Reason to Believe, those types of things. I I can see sort of the threads of that in the story. And I'll say this too. If you're a Bruce fan, there are a lot of Easter eggs. So there's a lot of these images or things that are happening, and if you know his story, you're like, oh, that's from that song, or oh, that's when he told that story. And so that's kind of fun as well.
See, I can appreciate that. I don't need every song spelled out for me. And
Hmm.
that's and
Hmm.
that I love the fact that you're saying that the climax of the film, you're right, is him going to therapy. The I'm coming back to it. My ADHD is taking over. Stream of consciousness. It's- but um, one of the things that I noted about this film was the set design. I
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought again, so like that is so important to any film, but in this one, everything is just raw. The colors
Hmm.
are everything is dusty, it's dirty. It's just sort of everything's sort of broken where he is, and the final shot. I mean, you could have him standing on a pier on a sunny day in the summertime with
Hmm.
families and kids walking around playing, but no, he's by himself. And it's a cold day and the building is broken down and he's just sort of there. And I thought, and as yeah, again, not I knew that he was from the area and all that stuff, but they don't. they keep true to the image that he has always held, which is the everyman. And
Hmm.
and
Yes.
and the visually in this film, there's never a moment where even when he's being a rock star, he feels like a rock star. And I
Hmm.
found that so endearing. Like I said,
Yeah.
surprisingly so. Like I'm watching this, I'm like, I love this guy.
Hmm. It
Uh,
doesn't feel. I was kind of noting during the film. He's obviously very, very famous during this time. Uh, Born to Run was kind of is his third album, but his big kind of breakthrough. Then he did Darkness on the Edge of Town, and then he did The River, and that's where we pick up on this film. He's at the very last show in the River tour, and nitpicking, right? He was actually wearing a suit in that last in that last show, but Jeremy Allen White, it would not have worked. It's very outdated. That's just a little that my little Easter egg. But he doesn't feel like a rock star, and you almost feel like he's not famous. I mean, there are people who recognize him, but he's an everyman, and that is where probably the film gets it right as it pertains to Springsteen. He's always felt like a regular guy. He's always sang like a regular guy, like he understood people. And what's funny is he became famous pretty young, and this film is kind of about him and his roots, but also so he's there, he grew up in this particular area and now he's famous and he's sort of struggling with both of those. Um, but even though at a young age he became very famous, he's still associated with the average person. And what I do appreciate, you're kind of mentioning locations in Asbury Park, like the Stone Pony and the Carousel and the pier and all that. It, Bruce Springsteen is a man of location in his songs. And so songs like Youngstown, I mean, even here, Nebraska, it's about specific people. And so when you have these sets that are real, so he did film at the Stone Pony, he did film in Asbury Park. It feels like it reflects who he is as a person. Not that the film gets Bruce Springsteen right in every single way, but when you watch this movie and you listen to his music, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like this person knows Bruce Springsteen. They weren't just kind of handed a script and they were excited about making a movie. Like they kind of get him in some ways. Not every way, but in some ways.
well, yeah, yeah. Oh, I gotta say, I think it's the Stone Pony. I love that he's just standing out there and a guy says, "Hey, Bruce, you suck," and he drives away. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I guess I
Yeah, so
do.
you got one person, he's like, "Hey, Hungry Heart, we love you," and that's I think that's in New York City, and then he goes to his Asbury Park, and they're like, "You suck." Uh, you just kind of walking around, but he does that, and actually, I think it was last week or something. He's still playing at the Stone Pony. He just randomly shows up, and he does it. I would say so as I'm thinking through some things that I like and don't like. I think one area that the film kind of maybe misses a little bit at Bruce Springsteen, and maybe this isn't a fault. Maybe they're just trying to emphasize one particular point in time. Is Springsteen is this fascinating guy, and that he can be very very serious and somber, but he's also really goofy too. And if you've been to some live shows or you've listened to some live shows or you've seen interviews, you'll notice that it's like the seriousness, and then he could just be kind of goofy. He's got that smile. He's the type of guy that'll stumble on a couple doing their engagement photos and like pose with them. Like he's a fun individual. And I don't know if Jeremy Allen White captured that. Like this is the very somber Springsteen. And I think it probably uh, could have helped the theme of the movie a little bit more because it could have emphasized how when someone's struggling with depression, it doesn't always show up in the same way. They can be happy and they can be fun one moment, um, but they're compensating for something else, or maybe there's a duality to how they're feeling. So I don't think they nailed that, but I think for the most part, Jeremy Allen White is really good here, and he sings very well here too. I mean, I was joking, and I'm like, some people can't distinguish between the two, and I think there's a couple of clips where they actually have Bruce's, especially at the end. The final song is from Bruce, but he does a really good job, and I could see him being nominated for something like this because he really does. I think he's probably the best actor for this job. Like, I don't know if anybody else who could probably done a better job of playing Bruce.
Maybe Steve Buscemi. No.
When I heard they were making this movie, I just said, as long as it's not Timothy Chalamet, like I'm gonna be okay. If it's him, I'm done.
He already did one. He did Bob Dylan last
Yeah,
year, right?
and he was good. He's
He's good in Bob
that
Dylan.
was a good movie. I liked that Bob Dylan film. That was good.
Um, but yeah, no, I see what you mean, and I think that that made the scenes with him and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's daughter more important because they never show. I don't know if Jeremy Allen White can be funny. Like that guy's never going to do a rom-com. I and Sydney
That needs to be a challenge.
Sweeney.
He's got it's like the comedians who stretch themselves by like Will Ferrell, he'll do Everything Must Go and he'll a serious movie. Jeremy Allen White needs to stretch himself by doing a rom-com.
The next Naked Gun movie needs to be
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes.
um but no, I because I think that's actually a really good point is showing some the compensating side. But I really appreciated the weight that he brought to this. And I also this is the other thing too. I was talking about this with some guys just this morning. I think that there's one of the things this film does very well is that it focuses on a moment in time.
Yeah.
It plays with the past and it plays with where he can go in the future, but the story takes place at a moment. There's not a compression of his entire career, and we got to run through this. And oh, here's where he was this. Now he's this. Now he's doing this now. It was like, we're going to sit here in this moment because he sat here in this moment. I don't know if the book is like that as well. But I found that it really gave White the chance to breathe in this character and the moments there are so many moments that, like I said, I'm not familiar with his mannerisms very much, but he's so convincing. The scene
Hmm.
where he's talking with his girlfriend in the diner, and he's sort of, looking down to the side,
Yes,
make
I
eye
remember that
contact.
scene. That scene too. I was like, "Oh, that's Bruce." Like he's kind of like leaning sideways. Yes, I remember that scene.
Yeah, I thought that was really powerful. Like there was so much in his glances and his glare in his eyes
Hmm.
that I thought added to his performance. I thought he was very good. I thought he was very good.
And I'm so glad that they didn't, fast forward 10 years at a time and they have Jeremy Allen White like in makeup or something. He looks like Bruce Springsteen today. But another uh, aspect of the film that I really liked, I really like John Landau's character. And for people who maybe don't know the backstory, I'll just real quick. John Landau, he's Bruce Springsteen's manager in the film. He actually was a young and pretty powerful critic. Wrote for things like Rolling Stone in the 70s. And he was kind of that group of young critics that held a lot of sway. It was very different back then. DJs and critics held a lot more sway in the music industry than they do now. And he doesn't really care for Bruce Springsteen's first two albums. Then he goes and sees a show and he's like, this is the guy. And so he writes this review and at the end, he says, I saw the future of rock and roll, and it's Bruce Springsteen. And that changed, that was one of the aspects that changed Springsteen's career. And he becomes friends over time with Springsteen. They talk about music, they form this deep friendship. And when Bruce is recording Born to Run, he actually brings Landau in as a producer because it's not working. And of course, that's the movie that kind of pushes him into stardom. And so I really loved getting to see this great relationship on screen. And we get a lot of movies where we see people and managers taking advantage of their talent. It's good to see the story of someone who's just like, I'm here to protect him and be his friend and do what he wants. And there really probably wouldn't be Bruce Springsteen today if there wasn't John Landau. And I that was maybe my favorite aspect of the film is just seeing them together, seeing them. They have this great scene where they're listening to a gospel hymn together. And I love it's probably a little cheesy when he goes, "We believe in Bruce Springsteen." That line, but just he did what he did, right? He went in and said, "This is what Bruce wants. I don't care if you guys don't like it. I'm gonna fight for him." And they were able to put Nebraska out. So it's great to see that. Great performance too, uh, for
Jeremy
John Landau's
Strong.
character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeremy
Jeremy
Strong.
Strong is great.
He's so good. He's so good. Yeah, no, I loved him in this film as well. I love him as a performer, but I loved him in this.
Hmm.
And it's interesting too, and I don't, this sounds like I'm pivoting. I'm not really, but you mentioned about the gospel album. I feel like this film uses music. Yeah, I hesitate to say, but almost in a spiritual way. Like there's something
Hmm.
about it that's so like it's not only cathartic, it's life-giving, and there's something about it that gives life. It's a really fascinating use of the music when they do it.
It is, and Catholicism. So Springsteen was raised in the Catholic Church, and Catholicism has really kind of undergirded Christianity has undergirded a lot of his music. He talks about Jesus, doesn't believe in Jesus the same way I do.
Mm,
But you definitely see that here. And it's fascinating too, Steve, to notice that the individuals who influenced Nebraska, Flannery O'Connor, Terrence Malick, the religious individuals, and then the film Night of the Hunter deals with religious subject matter. And then John Landau plays the gospel hymn. And I think if you're just a casual listener of Bruce Springsteen, you might not connect that all together. But for someone who's listened to his stuff and dug into his stuff, you see just how much Christianity plays into his music.
mm,
And it's really fascinating to see this. He is dealing with guilt. He is dealing searching for some sort of redemption here. And and it's fascinating. Just spiritual artists, Christian artists are the ones that in subject matter are the ones that help him produce this good work. And in some sense, act as his first form of therapy. I mean, that's really what it is. So this film is kind of about, in some ways, art as therapy.
yeah.
And Nebraska is his first therapist before he can be ready to go see a real therapist and do some deeper work.
I love the line. I want to make sure I wrote it down. Trying means this is his girlfriend at the time. Trying means facing yourself, and that terrifies you.
Hmm.
And I thought that was the line to me that sort of summed up his whole journey there. And I have to like when he's creating the music. And by the way, I read that I'm like Flannery O'Connor. We're talking about Flannery
Hmm.
O'Connor here. What's going on? But
Yeah.
this idea that he's really digging into the deepest pieces of his soul, for lack of a better term, to produce this piece. Um, but the therapy aspect, like he can't do it on his own. Like it's not like he can just
Hmm.
sit there and he can figure out the music, but the personal stuff he needs to go. There's something it's weirdly profound in a way when when John Landau just looks at him and says, "You need to get professional help." The film plays it like, a key beat. It's like this line isn't like,
Yeah.
oh, you need to get professional help. It's like you need to get professional help. And there was such an emphasis on it that I was actually a little taken aback and surprised because again, we're talking about the rock star Bruce Springsteen, but it was I really appreciate that about the film because it just showed his brokenness in such a beautiful way.
Mm. Yeah, and it is interesting too how Nebraska as an album, uh, Bruce Springsteen is sort of playing around with some storytelling devices, and he's got some deep subject matter of like serial killers, um, and brothers, one's a police officer and another's an outlaw, all these different songs. Um, but as the album kind of goes on, you also see things like My Father's House that is really this intense examination of his relationship with his father, Mansion on a Hill about where he grew up, and it's really great to see how experimenting with storytelling inspired by Flannery O'Connor and Terrence Malick's Badlands helped him to kind of examine guilt and people on the edges in a new way, and then pushed him to
Mm.
sort of work through some of his songs, very explicitly My Father's House, about his own inner turmoil. So it is fascinating to see how art can do that, how it can inspire us, and just how stories that we make up help us to cope with what's inside of us and help us to somehow even get at what we need to get at personally. And I think the film kind of it does a good job of sitting in that. And I like the scenes with which even with John Landau's character where he's talking to his wife and he's like, I don't know what to do with this. Right? You've got all these albums from Springsteen, and this is like his deepest, darkest stuff. But what the film shows is that led the way for him to have that type of conversation where he's like, yeah, you need that help.
Yeah.
Uh, and so yeah, I think the film does a pretty good job of kind of exploring that. I was going to ask you, I know some people have some different views on how depression is explored in this movie. I want to get your opinion on that. I think I have some thoughts on it, but I want to get your opinion. How do you think that's looked at or examined? Do you think it's done in a healthy way? Do you think it's done in a profound way, or is it, just kind of there?
That's an interesting question. I hadn't. I don't know if I really thought of it that way. I felt it was done in a fairly honest way.
Hmm.
I didn't sense that they, even after he goes to therapy, that everything is fine. I appreciated that. It was intrigued to know where you're going with this because I mean, it certainly sits with his past traumas, his relationships with his dad.
Hmm.
I did appreciate the fact of, I got the sense it was slowly, increasingly eating away at him.
Mm.
And the fact that he's with his girlfriend and he can't speak. It's like he can't
Mm.
speak it into existence, but he knows it's there. I know what that's like.
Hmm.
And to have that follow him throughout the film. I'd be interested to hear how people had a problem with it because
Hmm.
I thought it just made I just thought it made sense the way they portrayed it. I didn't think they made I don't like it when they showed it when films or shows show depression and take the easy way out. One therapy session and one medication and now everything's fine and you
Yeah.
sweep it under the rug. I hate that.
Yeah.
I did not get that sense in this film.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of movies would, where the film ends here, a lot of them, that would be kind of like the second act, maybe. And they would go forward. I think at the beginning, it felt like the film was kind of depicting in maybe a simple way, like, okay, he didn't have a good relationship with his dad, and his dad was abusive, and that's why he's depressed. And I know more of the story, but it kind of felt that way at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I could
But
see
then
that.
we kind of go a little bit deeper and we see, okay, this is happening after a big tour, and he keeps going back to the Stone Pony because he's got to feel that again. And then it overflows into this sort of, it's a fictional relationship. They kind of get some composites of different relationships. It overflows into that. And then it overflows into the control that he wants his music to have. And then we kind of get a sense that he grew up in this one area, he grew up at this house and in this particular, spot in life in poverty, and now he's got a lot of money. And so you get that contrast between his childhood home and where he's living at Colts Neck, New Jersey. And so I guess it felt like the movie was just saying like things happen and he should be happy because he has all this stuff, but that's not how life works. There's all these things that are working through his mind, and so almost the mysterious nature of depression that they didn't try to explain a lot of it, I think was a positive. I think when you try to explain stuff too much, that's part of the issue. But so I like the way that it examined depression. I don't know if it was especially deep, uh, but it felt authentic in many ways.
That I like that word authentic. I don't know if I would agree it didn't feel deep, but it felt real.
Hmm.
And that I connected with that watching this film. I thought it was interesting too that they explore the relationship with the dad as it changes because
Yeah.
you've got young Bruce, old dad, old
Hmm.
man dad, and adult Bruce, and his dad is just sort of more pathetic. Not he's as he gets older and pathetic, and I use that term. Maybe that's not the proper word, but uh, that is not the proper word. More broken. When we see
Hmm.
him when Bruce is young, he's the bully, but now he's just this. He's just an older man who doesn't know what to
Hmm.
do with himself, and that changes the relationship changes. And how do you have a relationship with somebody when you've had this relationship with somebody? All of these things were sort of in there. Um, yeah, I thought it was, I thought it was handled relatively well. Like I said, I felt it. I
Hmm.
felt
Yeah, and I I think in our world today, people have been, I don't know what you say, ghosting their parents or not having relationships with their parents. And I think in some senses, there are certain circumstances where that has to be done. And I mentioned that Bruce's dad was abusive, and it's hard, like the sliding scale of that. But what you see kind of in some of those scenes is probably as bad as it gets. Um, and so uh, obviously it's hard to say levels and things like that. But there really isn't a reason why he should just not ever talk to his parents. But what I loved at the end is he comes to this realization and he says this line to his dad. He says, "You are fighting your own battles too." And isn't that something that we learn when we get older, where we have experience and we realize like my our parents were fighting their own battles.
yeah,
Uh, and like, you're having like the worst day ever, and your kid's like 6, 7, and you just don't, you're like, you don't know what your parents are facing. Um, and I just love that line. He's like, you're battling your own, or you had your own battles too. And that's definitely how it feels in real life with Bruce and his dad. And they didn't ever have like this perfect relationship, but there was this understanding that he came to that allowed him to have a relationship with his dad again. And yeah, that scene after one of the shows near the end of the movie, that was a really powerful scene.
come sit on my knee. I've never done that before. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, one of the few moments of humor in the film, and I thought that's probably why it worked so well. And I kind of wish it would have, we had some more humor. But yeah, this funny moment, but then it's a very serious moment.
I'm telling you, just wait for the Naked Gun reboot. Then you'll really get to see Jeremy Allen
Jeremy.
White.
You know who I wanted to see a little more though in this film? Bruce Springsteen, you got to have the E Street Band. And it felt like the E Street Band, they were extras that were contractually not allowed to speak. So you have Steve Van Zandt, like he's popular in his own right. He's on television shows. He's on The Sopranos. You've got Clarence Clemens, and like they don't speak at all. And I know during this period he's very solitary. He does work with the band in the studio, but I would have loved just a little bit more from the East Street Band. Like you gotta have those guys in it more.
Yeah, I could Max Weinberg.
Max
Max
Weinberg, yeah,
Weinberg.
and
Um,
he's hitting the snare, and at least he had his moment hitting the snare. I would have loved to hear him speak.
before we screen it or skip it though, wait, I was thinking about this. Is there a musical biopic that you particularly enjoy? And is there one that you
Hmm.
would like to see? They're not going away.
Yeah. Um, I think Walk the Line's pretty good. I think
Oh,
Walk the Line's a pretty
yeah.
decent one. Yeah, I like it a lot. And then A Complete Unknown with Timothy Chalamet. I had low expectations, and I thought that film was pretty decent. I'd have to think of more, but I generally they're not great. We mentioned Bohemian Rhapsody, just not very good. I didn't really like the Elton John biopic, though it was probably one of the better ones that we've seen recently. I think you've talked to me about the Weird Al film. Have
Oh
not
my
seen it yet.
gosh. Yes, that
Uh,
one is so funny.
you
That one
to-
is
you
just
talked to me about it
bonkers.
last time or something, and I think maybe you talked to me about Walk Hard too, but I have not seen any of those. And so, uh, in terms of a good music one, I have always wanted. So one of my favorite films of all time is Talking Heads' concert film Stop Making Sense. And I, for years, have wanted Cillian Murphy, or Killian Murphy, however you pronounce it, to play David Byrne. And the film is not a biopic. It's not even about, all of the talking heads and their journey. It's just about the making of that concert film and that tour. And I would have loved, because there's a lot of conflict with David Byrne and Tina Wayworth and all those people. That's the one I would love to see. I think Murphy's getting too old. I think he's not that he's old, but he's a little bit older
Old
than
to
Byrne
play
was.
that. Yeah.
But that would be the one, I think.
Have you seen Better Man?
No, no, I haven't. We were
That was
supposed to
that may have been,
review that.
yes, that was the one we were gonna do. That's right.
That's the one. No, I almost
That
watched it
movie
on a
is
plane the other day.
unhinged. It is unhinged. Oh my goodness. I just want you to see it. That movie, I walked into that with no expectations and I was not prepared for what I got. And I know people that hate it and I fall into the category of people that loved it. And it is such a bizarre film. Like it is just bonkers. Robbie Williams
Who
biopic. He's a monkey.
who who signed off on that film? Ro Robbie Williams, he's not a very popular dude. Like a lot of people don't know who he is. Okay?
You're showing your American colors, my friend.
Okay.
I'm
A
telling
lo-
this guy was a god in Europe and I would say
Okay.
maybe in Canada in his day. In his
Okay.
day.
But it's like a guy, and because I talk to people, I was like, "Do you know who he is?" And they're like, all these people are like, "No, I don't know who he is." And it's like, at least a lot of people I know don't know who he is. And not only is it not a traditional biopic about someone they don't know, but it's he's a monkey. And I just don't know how he did it, how he got people to sign off on that. But kudos to them, like swinging for the fences on that one. I need to watch it. I'm gonna watch it now since you said how much you liked it.
It's the director of The Greatest Showman. I've
Ooh,
referred. Oh, you didn't like Greatest Showman? Okay. Oh my.
no,
That's it.
not really. No.
I think
Sorry.
you need to get
Sorry, people.
professional help. That's
Right, right.
um okay, so here's two that I want. If we're gonna keep doing these, here's two.
Yes.
I want one about the evolution of U2's Zoo TV tour in the
Okay,
early 90s because I think
okay, okay.
Zoo TV to Zoo TV I mean, have you ever seen the Zoo TV tour? Are you a
No,
fan? Okay.
I'm not. I'm like a. I know you too, like you know Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So and yeah. So Zoo TV was one of the first, to my understanding, mega stadium screen concerts. And the
Okay.
entire concert, this is 1993. You watch if you ever get a chance to see it, it's October, I think, November, October 93. It's at the tail end. They're in New Zealand, I think. It might be Sydney, Australia. I can't remember. But the whole concert is a social commentary on media because um,
Mm.
that's what Zooropa was, and that's what Octung Baby really were. And I would love to get into the mind of Bono at that period. It's like peak U2. The other one, and this is the Canadian in me, I would love one about Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip. I don't even know if you know who the Tragically Hip are.
I don't know their music. I've read about them, but I couldn't tell you any of their songs.
They
Yeah.
are Canada's Rolling Stones.
Okay.
That's who that they are.
I love it. That's all I need to
It.
know.
That's
Canada's
it.
Rolling
But
Stones.
but better in every way.
Yeah, yeah. Did
He was
they make their way to this to New York City like in the 70s? Did they kind of
no, they
eventually get
weren't.
down there?
They
Okay,
were
they
they were
didn't.
I they did cry. Okay, so here's
They
the
weren't
thing.
part of that like that punk scene that kind of spawned all those
I
bands in
think
the
they were
70s.
primarily in the 80s, but it might have been the late
Okay.
70s. But it is interesting. I say they're the Rolling Stones because they are that level of fame in Canada. Like they are our band. And Downey is a fascinating dude. He died of cancer, oh, I don't know, 5 years ago. I want to say 5 years ago.
Hmm.
But this guy had the soul of a poet. He worked with the indigenous populations.
Okay.
They were doing like the Springsteen thing. They would play local bands. They would, play. They were a local band. And one of the big questions was, and this is a very Canadian thing here. If you're this successful, are you successful in the U.S.?
Hmm.
Because if you're not, are you really successful? And the Tragically Hip are such a fascinating band, but I would love to see a really good Gord Downey biopic because that guy was
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. I think something like that would work better than like a Mick Jagger biopic. You know, it's just a different angle um from a band that might not be super popular. Can I add one more to my list?
By all means.
So I've been listening to a little bit of Bob Dylan recently, not a lot. He's just such a fascinating guy. I would actually love to see Timothy Chalamet could do it. A sequel in the late 70s, early 80s when Bob Dylan went through his evangelical Christian phase and he released those with three Christian albums. I would love to see that. That's just such a unique story. Uh, I don't think it would ever get
I was
made,
going to say I don't
but
think that'll get made unless Kevin Sorbo is playing him instead instead of Timmy
oh
Chalamet.
no. Thank you for that visual.
performing performing the music.
But I think it's those and we're kind of as we're talking about all these, there seems to be this continuity. It's these small stories,
Yeah.
these windows that reveal something. And I think that definitely goes in line with what we're talking about with Deliver Me From Nowhere, is that it's a window, but it says so much about a person's career. Though there's still so much that I wish they could have explored about Bruce. I'm like, oh, what about this or what about that? I think it's just a great look at an individual section of his life.
And I think that says it all there. Like you can't deal with this thing or that thing or this thing or that thing. be focused. And I felt this
Hmm.
movie knew what it wanted to be right when it came out the gate.
Hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely. And I love how you mentioned the cinematography. You know how uh Taylor Swift's Red album, they always talk about how it's like an autumn album. This is a really amazing autumn film. Like you just want to go to these places. And I think I'm gonna make the Springsteen pilgrimage hopefully here next year and visit Asbury Park and some of those places. But it just beautiful cinematography. I love the coloring. It's very, as you mentioned, very sort of earthy, very real and there, and a great period piece. I say period piece, a great 1980s cinematography. I think to give us kind of a feel for that era.
I don't want to alarm you, but 80s are a period piece now.
Yeah.
And
I was born in the 80s. That's
I
why I was
I
like, no, no, that's not
know
a period piece.
but think of it this way, if this were the 90s and the film was made in the 50s, uh it's the same
Oh,
period.
that's true. That's true. Oh man. And I will have to say too, um, it is so cool to watch how excited Bruce Springsteen and involved Bruce Springsteen is in this film. I so because I kind of interact with him, I kind of see in my algorithm, I'll see Bruce Springsteen Facebook pages and those things will pop up. And throughout the filming, he was there a lot. He's done so many interviews with Jeremy Allen White together, and it's kind of cool to see that. Like you wouldn't expect that, and I'm trying to think of when that's ever happened with a biopic like this. I mean, Bob Dylan obviously is not going to go on any interviews with Timothy Chalamet, but it's just kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see that, and to see how much fun he's having with this movie. And I mean, really, yeah, it's the first film like this about his life, and I'm sure there'll be more.
For sure. I mean, we've already shown our hand, I think, but let's screen it or skip it. Bruce or Springsteen Road to Nowhere, screen it or skip it.
Deliver Me from Nowhere.
Deliver me. Oh my gosh, what did I say?
You said Road to Nowhere.
The film gets so much darker when you call it that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh man.
Deliver me
And
from
then
no.
you go next, you're like, Bruce Springsteen, we're going nowhere. No. I say screen it. And I say this too. These types of stories are cool to see on the big screen. Focus stories, stories without CGI, stories where these actors are really trying to do justice to the people they're portraying. I mean, like I said, I know I'm biased in ways where I probably think this movie's better than some people. Probably think it's worse in some ways than some people because I know a lot about Springsteen, but I had a good time. I think it has people talking, or hopefully it has the power to have people talking about therapy and depression and what that means and how someone who could seem to be having a great life could still struggle with it. And I think that's a good message to get people talking and learning about, and then also hopefully to just kind of push people to some really good music.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely screened for me because for all the reasons that you just said, it was a heartfelt, right on, like heart on the sleeve portrayal of a real person, and I don't mean an actual person. I mean a real person, not a rock star,
Hmm. Hmm.
struggling. And the performances are wonderful. The music is good, although there's a lot less of it than I expected there would be. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that again helps the film. It's not a hit list.
Yeah.
And I just think it's very well done. I think it's very well done. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we get the end of like Born to Run.
yeah,
We get part of Born in the USA when he's recording it. We get I'm on Fire, and then we do get the we get the songs from Nebraska, but there's a lot of like really popular Bruce songs that we know a lot about that we just don't, we don't get. And yeah, I like the restraint too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Wade, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Is there, can people find you, follow you, things you want to promote? What you got?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Wade Hance. And then if you go to wadebearden.com, you go to my Substack. I'm going through school right now, and with work and everything, I haven't been doing a lot on it, but I'm still doing some deep research on wisdom, and I'm writing a book on wisdom, and kind of moved away from some of the film criticism, but definitely learning how to examine art has really helped me in this whole endeavor. So you can go follow me in my Substack. It's wadebearden.com, goes to my Substack, and then you can follow me on Instagram where I talk about, wisdom and Bruce and I don't know, post pictures of places I've been, things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that. And again, as always, for you at home, you can find us wherever podcasts are available. And like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We got stuff happening there. Actually, the stuff goes up on YouTube more regularly than it does on the actual podcast. Um, and of course, you can find us on screenfish.net. You can find us on Instagram and at Screenfish Online, where we have all sorts of reviews and contests and all sorts of stuff that you can find and try and get the conversation started about films of today where you are. But Wade, thank you again so much. And for you at home, we started the conversation. This was Screenfish.